Thanks for tuning in to the Beyond Normal podcast, where we highlight minority business owners and founders, and we use this platform to shed light on their entrepreneur journey. Welcome, everybody, to the Beyond Normal podcast. We got a very exciting guest with us today, Dr.KiKi. She is the founder of Doctors Under the Radar, which is an online digital platform that aims to focus on mental health and doctors obtaining care and treatment to overcome, restore, and strive. Thanks for joining us, Dr.KiKi.
Thanks for having me. Hi.
And this is we had a brief conversation, prior to hopping on this episode. Just the work that Dr. KiKi is focusing on is very, I think it's very important in the time that we're currently in. So with that being said, I want to dive right into things. Can you tell folks a little bit about your background and what led you to this point where you're the founder of Doctors Under the Radar?
Sure. I am American born, Jamaican made. So I am first generation Jamaican American. Both of my parents grew up in Jamaica and they migrated to the States, and then they had me and my brother. I am also a mom to a 4-year-old boy who is currently in school, and I'm also a physician by trade, but I am a CEO and founder currently by work profession. So my background stems with just understanding, if anybody's from a Caribbean household, like you have no option or choice in life but to make it to college and to succeed and to do something. My parents never forced me or my brother to choose any career. They just said, go to college, get an education, don't waste. Young, gifted, and Black is what my father and my mother preached. My mom was a teacher at a very young age. She came to America and most of her information was left in Jamaica, but because of her strength and because of her wisdom and just her ability to deal with people, she became a teacher. They went based on my mom's interaction with kids when she just dropped off my brother, and they learned that she had a way of dealing with kids, and then she was able to work with dyslexic kids. By the time they left her class, they were able to talk and function and be able to maneuver the way they needed to and got back on track into the grades that they belonged in. My dad is coming from a background where he did, he's an engineer, and he did a 4-year course in 3 years, summa cum laude, and he was also a tutor. He was a starter of a West Indian organization. He played soccer and track and field. So my parents created a foundation and a legacy for me and my brother and I, and made it so that we understood what it meant to be somebody and to have something and to not let anything stop us or anything make us feel like we're less than. And also my brother, he has his own business. He started it from college. He said he was determined by the time he finished college to have his own house and to have his own business. And he succeeded at both. He deals with comp sci, technology, energy. He's in that field and space. And everybody's always asking me what he does, and I feel bad that I always forget, but it's computers. He's the geek and I'm the nerd. That's what I usually go by. He is my business guru. I harass him every day now that I'm an entrepreneur to get an understanding about technology and business. And he's the main person that I rely on and lean on to even continue or even started this. Why I started this? I got hit by a car riding my bike a couple of days before medical school started. I got hit the Friday, started medical school the Monday. I started with a sling on my arm and a boot on my leg. There was no real option in my mind to stop, to take a break. I am the first in my family on both sides to be a doctor. I am minority and I'm a female. So to make it into that space and to actually be able to say I made it was one thing, but to sit there and say I was going to take a break, there's nothing in our vocabulary that says that. So I pushed through. I became historian of the National Medical Association. I eventually became the vice president. I started my own non-for-profit. I got involved. I did 2 fellowships, and that was because I said, I made it, I survived. There's someone out there that's going to need me. And, you know, as a physician, that's always in your head to help, to provide. So I didn't stop. And I did 2 years of residency before my mind and my body was just like, well, you're not going to stop. We're going to stop you. And I suffered greatly. I was suffering. I failed boards. I actually failed boards 1 and 2 in medical school. By the grace of God, I got into residency, failed boards 3. My clinical skills are great. I related to everybody on the team. It didn't matter whether you were the cleaning lady or you were another doctor, like I related to everybody. And so my program director noticed that. And I would always say, like, this is not me. Like, I'm more, you know, lively, bubbly. I'm always doing something. And then literally my mission was go to work, come home. And that was it. Like, I slept on my couch more than I slept on my bed. And my program director said, we need to get you psychoanalyzed then. And I got psychoanalyzed, found that I was suffering from traumatic brain injury induced severe depression, anxiety, and PTSD. Even with that, I sat there and I was like, I got to make it through. I got to do this. I didn't have a boards passing score. And so I pretty much got let go of residency. Throughout the time before I was diagnosed and even after, I reached out for help. It didn't feel like there was enough help. It didn't feel like there was enough resources. It felt like the mission was to just finish, make it through, become a doctor, do what you got to do. And also, just even in my own mind, that was a mission. Make it through. You got this far, become a doctor. You have to finish the mission. You can't quit. You can't fail. So when all of that came crashing down, I thought I failed. I thought I was a quitter. I thought that there was nothing more to me. I thought that the world was coming to an end. And it took something from me. I started hating medicine. I started hating everything. People asked me, what about my loans? And I said, I don't care. It is what it is. I'll survive. I'll make it. I just don't want to do medicine anymore. And then I found that I was pregnant. And I had to really take stock into what I was thinking and what I was saying. And I had to realize that if I wanted to raise a child and tell my child to reach for the stars, to push, to believe it, never give up, never quit, I had to practice what I preached. You know, it was 2 friends that told me that basically my child, especially when I'm pregnant, is going to suck from me, my energy, my mindset, my mind frame. And then one was a guy, and he told me that his mom was depressed and that he became depressed. So that hit me hard. And he internalized it. He sucked it up, and then he became angry, withdrawn, you know, and not like himself. So I said I didn't want that for my child. And I found that I was having a son, and I was like, really, mama's little boy? I did not want that for my son. So I reframed my thinking. I reframed my way of living. I ate healthier, exercise. I still gained the weight. And mind you, I was not even eating bad. Like, my mom made sure she cooked. I ate, I drank a lot of water, and I still gained the weight. But it was in that year after residency where I took the time to heal. I took the time to recover, and I took the time to truly dive into what's going to make me me. And then I reached out for work. Wasn't really getting it until I found somebody that was willing to take a chance on me. And God bless her till this day. She hired me first as an intern, and then she hired me as basically her right-hand woman. I ran the show when she wasn't there. She also saw in me. It wasn't my aptitude or my skills. It literally was just the problem, the accident that hindered me. And then after that, I worked for another job, and COVID hit, and I became an entrepreneur. I'm here now. During the last 3 years, I kind of felt like there wasn't enough for physicians in my space, for physicians that are suffering, that for physicians that feel like they want to give up. And so I took the time to really look into myself and start this business. And I'm here today. Long story short.
That's an amazing story, Dr. KiKi. As you were even going through that and kind of telling like how, you know, you had some adversity, you figured out ways to overcome it, you know, I think in a year like 2020, right? A year where all this stuff, everybody had these, you know, it just was one thing after another. a lot of us realize like, hey, you do have to take a pause. You do have to take a second to, acknowledge what's happening to you, and then you move on. But if you're not acknowledging some of the hurt that's going on, it can have longer term impacts, right? I appreciate you being transparent, because a lot of people, when they think about entrepreneurship or starting your own company, there's some glamorized images that we think of. We think of Mark Zuckerberg, we think of Amazon, we think of Facebook, and we don't truly think of the work that goes into what drives somebody to start their own business. And it's not always this rosy, green grass scenario, right? There's certain stuff that comes up. We all, it's life. Life happens, right? And so there's certain things that happen that are going to drive you to moments where you kind of say, all right, I'm going to take a gamble on myself, right? Now is the perfect time. And for you to kind of acknowledge that in an environment like COVID, that's very powerful, right? For you to say, hey, I'm going to start my own business. And then going back to your parents, they have such a high bar for you that I think you're always wearing that. And so that pushes you as well. And I think you come from a background, right? Your parents are very intelligent individuals, just from you telling me, what they did, right? As you were growing up, setting that example. I could tell that you're trying to make sure that you're setting that example moving forward, right? You mentioned your son. You want to make sure that he's got the right mindset, that health, that mental health is big. And so, you starting this business right now, I mean, I think it's needed.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's definitely needed.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you telling your entire story from your upbringing, growing up in the Jamaican household, your parents, your brother's an entrepreneur as well. I guess, what do you feel like the examples that your parents set, like, what about what they did? Are there any experiences with them that you feel like really set you up for entrepreneurship, like in this current moment? Do you feel like there were certain things that happened that your parents were doing? Maybe you noticed it then, maybe you noticed it after, that you feel like you can use as leverage when you're starting your own business now?
Yeah, for sure. Growing up, outside of what my mom did for work, she always cooked. They did own a restaurant growing up. They ran a restaurant growing up called Black Lion right here in Jersey. And they were pretty good at that. My mom cooked and my dad ran the front, and they were part of a group of people that did that. So, you see that and it's just like, wow, we have family members that, they're running the show. Even now, my dad, he's a clergyman and he is building a church. He's been like the head of the church for a long time. And so even that's being motivational to see that he's taken this show and now he has and he designed it himself, which is very inspirational and motivational. He did the blueprint. My dad would go down there and use his actual feet and measure feet by feet, the amount of inches or feet that he needed to.
Shout out to Dad.
Huh?
Shout out to Dad.
So, just all throughout my life, like my parents have been a source of motivation and inspiration, and just the way they carry themselves and handle myself. My dad was always like, don't let anybody feel like they're better than you. You didn't come here to bow, you came here to conquer. Just the mindset to set you up. And Young, Gifted, and Black was one of the things that the songs he loved, and he always mentioned, and forwards ever, backwards never. And another thing is that they always did the community. They always ensured that we surround ourselves with people that will help us in every way. And it doesn't matter which way the help is coming, and always give back and reach back for those you feel like you can help. So throughout all of that, like that mindset set me up to see her and say, well, okay, I made it, and I'm sure there's someone else out there like me. So let me reach back and truly help someone like me and help them to be better than me, because you know, at one point I hated medicine. I gave up. I truly walked away. And if I could save one person from doing that, I figured that, you know, my business has done something for someone and has done a lot, not just something, but a lot. So for sure, like, there's not just one thing that I can pinpoint that my parents have done. It's just been like who they are, how they are, and the way that they built an empire. I guess a legacy for me and my brother is truly motivational for sure.
That's a very powerful kind of, I guess, analogy. Like legacy translates to an empire. Like I like that. Just thinking like it just really, like you said, your parents are go-getters. Your dad, he's a jack of all trades, right? You feel like in certain instances, there's nothing he can't do. He knows how to figure things out. And so we got to make sure that we apply some of that. It's like, and what I like to say, it's in our genetics, right? It's in our bloodline for us to own our own destiny, to have our own businesses. And ultimately, I say this pretty much every episode, you can't lose taking a gamble on yourself.
Yeah.
It probably defies the logic of what we all learned in school. And so we have to unlearn some things along the way to make sure that is at the root of a lot of the, the things we do moving forward, no matter what it is.
Yep, for sure.
So you dug a little bit into as well, what sparked the idea, your story yourself, you going through the medical field. I want to transition a little bit because I know you've leveraged some resources, you've leveraged an accelerator to accelerate your business, right? So can you tell us a little bit about how that experience has been and the good and bad of, being in an accelerator program?
So even before the accelerator, I've leveraged my community. One of my best friends from grad school and medical school, she was the one that was just like, I'm tired of hearing you talking. I know if you start something, you're going to finish it, and you're a hustler like me, because we were at that stage where it's like, she did something, I did something, I did something, she did something. Like, we kept each other motivated and competitive in the space where we're going to achieve something. And once we're like, even while we're achieving that, what's the next step? What's the next goal? So when I kind of slid away, she was always in the back of my ears, like, yo, Kiki, I need you. You need to come up. Where are you? So she was the one that said, all right, I got a website designer. I'm going to throw you at her and do what you got to do. That's when we started. She told me this in like May. I became an LLC in May, started my information gathering, my research in June, July, and launched September of this year for National Physician Suicide Awareness Day. So in that retrospect, I had that. I leveraged my brother. Like I said, all day, every day I harass him, and even his co-workers. I talk to them. I get the information that I need. And then like even one of my friends, I'm using her apartment as like my workplace. So leveraging the community is one thing that I really like love and I'm dependent on and suggest for everybody. The accelerator program was a good experience because it made me come out of my comfort zone. It made me have to think beyond what I originally thought, because as a one-woman show, I have nobody to really talk to on a daily basis, be like, does this make sense? Does that make sense? Is this correct? Is that bad? It's all me. I can feed off of people and I can pitch them certain things, but the everyday interaction is what's needed. So it definitely gave me that. And coming from a space where I thought that I was nothing, mind you, I have my master's even before becoming a doctor, and I was worthless and there wasn't much to me. Being in the accelerator program, I had to wipe that off and step up to the plate and realize I'm a founder, I'm a CEO, because every week there's an assignment, every week we have to produce, and every week that means reaching out to people. So I had to just, buckle up and do what I had to do. So I love the program for that, and just allowing me to get back into a space where I feel me. I'm passionate, I'm happy, I am driven, and I am making strides and moves. The downside to it is every week something is due. Like I'm a professional student, so it's kind of like it's okay, but at the same time, it's still a lot. And then not just that due for the program, which they say at least 20 hours is due, but also my son. And then also you have the outside information for your business in which you wear all hats. And then you have to sit here and think about all the different directions in which things can go. You have to put out fires. You have to light fires, so it's a lot. And an entrepreneur, it's like, you're right. We see a lot of the beauty, the glitz and the glam, but it's so much on the back end where you sit here and you're just like, it's a beautiful stress, because at the end, you're your own boss, but it's still stressful at the end of the day. And it can get frustrated. It can get to the point where it's just like, is it worth it? But there's always that answer where like, yes, it is. So, that's the beauty of it. And it's the gift and the curse, but anything worth it is gonna take that. It's gonna take that effort. It's gonna take that hustle. It's gonna take that grind. It's gonna take that sleepless nights. It's going to take, I'm sorry, I got to call you back. It's going to take, I probably didn't call you back or text you back, but I'll get back to it, so it is what it is. I love it and I'm learning. So I'm thankful for it.
And those, ladies and gentlemen, are what we call gems on the show. So you just dropping gem after gem there, Dr. Kiki, in terms of, it's not easy. Right. It's not, even for someone like yourself, like for you to get to that point where you can acknowledge, right, what you are. You're accomplished. You're a doctor. Now you're an entrepreneur. You're a mother. You're all these things. And I just think a year like 2020 is really taking us to a point where we really got to sit with some of those thoughts, and we got to really truly acknowledge, like, say it in the mirror, like say it. I mean, how many of us probably before this year will wake up in the mirror and just say some of the things, some of those affirmations like, hey, here's what I am. Here's what I want to become. It's that really is embodied, right? That's like the entrepreneur spirit, right? Like you got to do that every single day. Like you said, you're going to have fires. I like what you said around starting fires, right? The idea of sometimes you got to be the person to light a fire under somebody, and you're not always putting out fires. That's like the duality of it. And I appreciate you showing both sides. There's good and bad. There's, the light and dark. In any given situation, you can look at and find different things to focus on. But I appreciate you focusing on the positive in the situation that you're currently in, because that by itself, through a year like 2020 and then moving forward, that's going to be almost like a superpower, making sure that you can focus on that North Star, focus on that end goal. You mentioned something in there that I wanted to make sure that I didn't just glance on, and we gave the viewers a little bit more awareness around the National Physician Suicide Awareness Day. So can you tell folks a little bit around, what that day is about? Are there any stats in terms of, what the rates are currently that people should know about in terms of physician suicides?
Yeah, so physicians die by suicide greater than any other profession, and female physicians are up to 400% more likely to die by suicide, and male physicians are 130% more likely to die by suicide than the general public. I knew the stats were bad, but I didn't know they were that bad. So when I started this, I started it solely as a mission to fight for the underdog, make somebody better than me, and give somebody the opportunity to do better than me and to make it greater than I did. But as I did the research and saw the numbers and realized how serious it was, this became bigger than me. And I realized that it was important to spread this message, because as I'm doing it and I'm telling people the stats, they're always like, wow, we never thought of this. Who heals the healers? We never really thought about physicians needing the care that they're telling us to get. We never really thought of physicians, but it makes sense. And it's just like, I think that is one of the main things that I'm getting from this. I start the conversation. So my platform is to create a social platform, a social ecosystem for starting with female physicians, so that we can start the conversation. We can have the conversation. We can be candid. We can be open and honest. You can be anonymous on it, which will make people, take away the mask and be free to say what they want to say. And once you start the conversation, more research can happen. With research, we can do education. We could do advocacy to change the rules behind some of the laws that are governing the bodies which we work under. Part of the reason is licensure. A lot of doctors are afraid to disclose if they have any mental illnesses because there's no separation between impairment and illness. Now, an impairment means you can't function. An illness means you just have something you were diagnosed with, but you can still function. So with a lack of distinction between the two, it makes it hard for physicians to open up, and the stigma and the embarrassment and the money spent to get back to where they belong to is a problem. The next thing is, the community. I don't think it's anybody's business unless a doctor decides to disclose their mental health illness. But, you don't want your patients to look at you as any less than, or even your colleagues, because it's going to be like, you sure you can handle that? You sure you want to work today? You got this? And, nobody wants to have to go through that conversation every day. It becomes a problem. And those are just like few of the issues. And of course, for minority women like myself, we're only 1% to 2% of medicine. So the stigmas we face, where sometimes we're the only ones in the room, makes it so stressful. And I've had people sit here and be like, no matter how many times I'm like, I'm Dr. So-and-so, I'd be like, oh, you're the nurse? You're the tech? And it's just like, no, I am Dr. Sherriff. Or be like, is there another doctor that can work with me? And I'm just like, sometimes it could be, but I'm just saying, now I'm the only one. Like you got to do what you got to do, because we're taught to work through the difficult patient. So all in all, there's just so many avenues in understanding women make less than men. So that's even the pay gap is not just, it's all around the board. Doctors experience that too. So it's so many avenues, so many ways and reasons in which doctors die by suicide, that it's one of those things where it needs to be talked about more. It's not just a day, it's every day. And then this was before COVID, and now COVID's here, you can see those stats rising, because even now where the numbers are rising and the doctors are on the forefront, and it's really bad. And so the mission is to focus on that, but also to have the conversation where it's not just the doctors, but it's also the community. And that's one of my main missions, to ensure that message doesn't get lost, and we can change the stats and we can make a difference, and realize that doctors are humans too. I know there's this saying where it's just like, well, doctors don't want the help, but which started first? Did we not want the help, or we were put on a pedestal in which we were told we didn't need the help? So, you have to figure out which one it is, and regardless of which one it is, we have to fix the problem. So that's my little two-piece.
And I appreciate you. I didn't want to overlook that, because that seems like you said, it's a big issue. And then when you look at communities, POC, people of color, obviously those numbers go way up, right? And so when you compare it to the benchmark, the rest of society, it does seem like there's some opportunity there. Have some more eyeballs on it. Just give some more resources. We want the person we're going to for our health to be in a healthy mindset as well. And so now more than ever, we need to make sure that we're checking up on everybody, right? Like you said, there's probably, when we go to the doctor, we don't say, oh, this doctor is a human being as well. We go to them and we expect them to cure our ailments, right? Or, give us, prescriptions, or, just tell us what's going on with our body. But, they're human as well. So I appreciate you bringing some light to that. I think I actually had somebody in the audience chime in. Elaine said, true, who should the healers reach out to? That's a really great point. So like you said, everybody needs a resource, right? Our doctors have doctors. I know that sounds like a crazy statement to say, right? But as a doctor, you're not Dr. KiKi, you're not your own doctor, right? You have doctors in your life that you go to, professionals, right? No matter what it is, for, any aspect of your life, but you go to a doctor yourself, right? It's not like you, just because you're an MD, you can diagnose yourself.
We shouldn't give ourselves medications, and we shouldn't, you can, but you want to limit it. So it's kind of like, why not? And I think part of the issue is sometimes we forget that mental health is health. We always sit here and say, well, protect the kidney, protect the lungs, protect the heart, and protect the brain. But sometimes we think of protecting the brain as just oxygen. But honestly, what you think, therefore you are. So if you're always constantly thinking negative, everything around you is going to be negative, and you can't really function. And if you're always thinking you're nothing, you eventually feel it to the point where you're just like, if I'm nothing, I might as well just not live. So, you know, if your brain is fried, literally, whether it's from stress, anger, emotions, mental health, depression, anxiety, PTSD, addiction, you need the help. And it's sad that we can't see it like that. And especially in our community, at least, you know, I'm Jamaican, yes, but I also grew up in America. And in the Black community, if you go for a therapist session, you're crazy. You're automatically labeled. And that's not what it should be, because it's kind of like you figure, like, if you go to the doctor, you're automatically considered sick. No, you go for a checkup. So it's the same thing with your brain. You need to go for a checkup. And if your brain's not right, the rest of your body's not going to be right. So it's just the narrative and the conversation around it that needs to be changed for sure.
Yes, you mentioned that around the therapy. And like you said, that stigma in, you know, in our community. And, you know, that's probably a resource that we don't leverage enough. And so that is a great call out there. So for folks who are listening in, it looks like we got some folks commenting as well in the chat. You know, don't be afraid to, you know, speak up when you do have something that is on your mind, you know, something that's pressing. You know, there's some opportunity to go to professionals, go to somebody who has a degree in whatever that field is that specializes in that, so you can get the help. Now more than ever, companies have resources. Companies, you know, employers actually pay into a lot of these programs as well. So use those resources, use those benefits, because you're paying into it, and we want people to be healthy in their mental, physical, just all around in their whole being.
Sure.
So, all right, we want to transition into entrepreneur mode, right? I'm going to ask you a question. I want you to share a couple more nuggets in terms of, now that you've gone through a year like 2020, starting your business, what's something that you wish that you would have known at the beginning of this process that you feel like, you know, would have set you up for success, or would have just given you, you know, that much more momentum if you had it on the front end?
That's a good question. Couple of things. One, it takes a community. It really does. I mean, it's not that I didn't know it, but to understand the people in the community that it takes. Business is not something that's really taught, or you have it as a course, but I feel like just like we learn math and English, business is something that we should be learning from a very young age, because there's just certain things within it that can help you out, like finances. I didn't realize how important it was to ensure that my business money and my money needs to be separate. So from the minute you want to become an LLC, you should get like that business credit card, a business debit card, whatever you have to, and ensure everything you're buying for the business goes on that side. And it took people around me to sit there and we have these conversations and say that. But also when I say the community, because I am reaching out to people now, and I am learning to talk, and I'm learning, talk business, and I'm learning to understand that I need PR, I need marketing, I need social media, I need all these things. And these are the things where it's just like, well, I didn't know that's what it really took to make it, to get where I need to go. I thought it was just like, you know, you need one person or two people and we can make it, because all the stories, they make it seem like, you know, Warren Buffett, he just did such and such and he made it through, and they don't really tell the nitty gritty. I wish I also knew that there are resources out there that people actually want to help you. It's kind of told where it's just like, don't ask certain people. Don't reach out in certain arenas, but I'm realizing like that's also something that needs to be stigmatized, because I reached out to so many people. I've told them a little bit about my story and they are just willing to help. And so understanding that people, especially in 2020, I think people have been locked in so long. They want to talk to each other. They want to interact and they want to help. So not being afraid to reach out, because I was very nervous. Every time I had to go on an interview or talk to somebody, I was nervous to talk, and we're like, here we go. I'm setting myself up for a no. But honestly, I got more yeses than no's. I can't really tell you anybody that said no. And even if they were just like, I don't really know how to help you, maybe this person would. just understanding that, understanding the power of social media. I'm not big on social media. And so just understanding how to leverage it to make something of yourself and to do better. Like LinkedIn is good for professionals. I've reached out to so many people on LinkedIn and got information. Instagram is good for meeting people and following them and having little conversations on the side. And Facebook is good for like everything in between, and just understanding where to leverage these things are important. Understanding the bigger picture of entrepreneurship, understanding each level of it, whether it's the finance, it's the tech, it's the marketing, it's sales, understanding each level. And as a CEO, I have to understand each part. Those aren't things that you're really told about, especially at least in the communities that I grew up in. And just knowing that it's important to also build that community. Don't just reach out and say, can I use you or can you help me? But also reach out for the mentorship, the advice, for friendship, because it's something that's important in which we stay together and learn and build that community, not just use it, but utilize it. I was having a conversation with my brother and one of his friends, and I was just like, I want to be able to say, my son, which is now he's saying he wants to be an engineer and a businessman. I'll be like, go to Mr. So-and-so, he's an engineer. Or go to Mrs. So-and-so, she's an engineer. And we can have that community. We can have that conversation. We can have that connection. So I wish I had known from a younger age, networking, the power of networking and keeping in contact with people and not just saying, hi, can I have your number for when, but can I have your number to continuously contact each other and continuously keep in touch and continuously talk. So those are the few things I wish I had known or at least paid more attention to growing up.
That's dope. And what you just spoke to towards the end is around actually building a relationship. Mm-hmm. I think some of the just the way society is right now, with social media, a lot of things that we do, they're transactional, right? In terms of, I want to go to whatever the social media platform is, Facebook. We're on Facebook right now. I want to go to Facebook and I just want to scroll for a time sink, or I'm just looking for something in particular, but I want to get something out of it and then I'm done. And that's okay in terms of kind of interacting with a machine, interacting with a device, a thing, right? But when it comes to humans, like you said, the heart of it needs to be a relationship, right? It needs to be, okay, there's a give and take. Mm-hmm. And I think taking the tools aside, we all have been at home with our tools probably for too long. And so, like you said earlier, we are craving that human interaction. We're craving to be able to go back out in a safe capacity, right? Mask on, everything like that. But we're craving to actually go out and have that dialogue. And that's how stuff is built. It's built through conversations and not necessarily, like you just said, all right, what can I take? What can I leverage from this situation and moving on? Mm-hmm. So you brought up the conversations and making sure that we're keeping, building relationships, keeping things going, moving forward. I've been doing the hashtag 2021 is here, just so that everybody know. 2021 is here. It will be 3 months in before you know it, so have your goals ready. But with that being said, I want you to share your thoughts around the spotlight that is being put in front of us right now. Obviously, we were dealing with COVID. That's the pandemic number one. Pandemic number two that has plagued us all is really the conversations and just the highlighting of the social injustice worldwide. So tell me a little bit around, what are your thoughts around those conversations and, how has it impacted you and your business?
Just starting to be honest and open. I have said to many people, it actually pays to be a minority and a female right now, because there's actually a lot more options and avenues being created for us. And they're starting to realize that women have a lot to offer, and especially Black women, and especially in the tech space, there isn't a lot of us. And we're trying to incorporate ourselves in a world where it's like we're always the underdogs. And, having to fight through and force yourself to have a seat at the table, where it's kind of like you get tired of that. And now you just want to have to bring your own chair and do what you got to do. But now it's more so saying they realize that this is a problem, or at least enough people are starting to realize it. And the conversation is bigger and the conversation is more in depth. So that's been one of the things that I've noticed, where people want the opinions of minorities. They want the opinions of others. And it's sad that it took something like George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. I mean, at least a lot of people said, oh, they didn't know, they didn't realize it. It's always been there. It's just that some people are actually starting to see that it's a problem. And they're also starting to realize that these are conversations that we need to have. And it's not a conversation I need to teach you about. It's one of those things where I just don't feel like I should have to teach you. There's enough history books out there in which we can have a conversation without me teaching you. So when it boils down to being an entrepreneur, I can say there has been a lot more avenues, but I'm not going to say it made it any easier, because you still got to search for them. They're not easily accessible. They're not easily seen on, you Google it, you got to go digging, or you know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody. And once again, you know, that community, that network is coming back to light. I have understood that life would never be easy because of the color of my skin, but I've never let it be a problem for me. And I never let it be an excuse either. I don't look at it as, oh, well, this didn't happen because of X, Y, and Z. But, you know, I'm going to take advantage of the opportunities that are coming my way these days, and I'm going to be happy for them. I just want it to be a time and a place where eventually I can say I made it, versus saying, oh, I made it as a Black female. You know, it's frustrating, it's tiring, it's annoying, and it's one of those conversations where it's just like, we're tired of having, and the microaggressions that come with it, and the side notes and the conversations, and it's just like, just respect me for what I bring to the table, because I judge you or work with you based on what you and I have agreed upon. So you need to do the same. Nothing else should come from that. And just create the space where people actually want to work and relate with each other. And that's why that's one of the main cultures that I want to have, even in my business, where it's like the community, family, and let's make room and space for everybody. There shouldn't be anybody that feels uncomfortable or anybody that feels left out because of any one reason. I don't really care what it is, whether your skin color, sex, gender, you know. So to me, it's just like, these conversations is about time, and more can be done, but you know, it's going to take time. It's going to take stride. I'm not expecting perfection. I'm not expecting everything today, but something is better than nothing.
Dope. That's another segment of Dr. Kiki dropping gem after gem after gem. I wish I had a mic to pass you so you can drop the mic. Because yeah, that I can't even say nothing after that. Outside of that, you know, I want to pass it to. Well, first I want to say, you know, I definitely appreciate you coming on the platform, the Beyond Normal podcast. This platform is really for entrepreneurs such as yourself to, you know, highlight what you are working on, let the world know your story, you know, let people know what it takes to be an entrepreneur in 2021 and beyond. There's good and there's bad that comes with it. You are definitely owning your own narrative. And again, I appreciate you coming on the platform. That being said, you know, in closing, you know, Dr. Kiki, can you let everybody know how they can reach out and leverage Doctors Under the Radar as a resource moving forward?
Sure. So you can find me at my personal Instagram is I_am_Dr.KiKi. And then on Facebook as Kiki QNS, which I have to work on. I have to change that name so it's easier to find me. For my website, it's mdundertheradar.com. I am on LinkedIn as Dr. Sherriff, and my business as Dr. Under the Radar. It's a lot. With social media, it's like, just get used to it being a lot. Even my business is on Instagram at DocUR. Doc, I think it's Doc_U_R. And then my email is drkiki@mdundertheradar.com. I respond easily. At least I should say within 24 hours I'll respond. But I love to connect with people, and I love to talk, and I like to have the conversation. And anybody willing to work, collaborate with me, for sure. Let's make it happen so we can start the conversation, which is really what I want to do.
Appreciate that, Dr. Kiki. Just in closing, some of the comments. Somebody just chimed in. Norman just chimed in. Drop them gems. So you continue to, again, you dropped a lot of gems in this conversation for folks who are listening. Make sure you let your networks know that they can go to this. This will be recorded. This will stay on Facebook. We need to make sure that we spread the message around what Dr. Kiki is doing. Somebody else, Elaine, actually chimed in as well. Networking is key. So you hit on that several times, Dr. KiKi. Again, so I appreciate the audience chiming in, taking away those nuggets, taking away those gems so we can all use that moving forward in 2021 and beyond. In closing, I just want to say thanks for tuning in to the Beyond Normal podcast, everybody.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to the Beyond Normal podcast. We can be streamed across all major streaming platforms in addition to YouTube. Come back again.